A fake profile uploaded to a genealogy website became the missing link California investigators needed to catch an alleged killer.
It was always going to be DNA that solved this case. Any investigation, that's where it was ultimately going to lead.
But could that same strategy be used in a nearly 10-year-old Fond du Lac County case to help identify the remains of a female only known as Jane Doe?
There are techniques for working with degraded DNA, such as burial remains.
Identifying Jane Doe tops Fox 11 News at 9. Good evening to you. It's been 3 days since Jane Doe's remains were exhumed from Ottawa Cemetery. Now, officials have been trying to identify her remains since they were found by hunters in a shallow creek in southern Fond du Lac County back in 2008.
That's right. I talked to a DNA expert who sheds light on whether Jane Doe's genetic profile could be used to identify her in tonight's Fox 11 follow-up. Who is Jane Doe? That's the question the Fond du Lac County Sheriff's Office has been trying to answer for nearly a decade. Jane Doe's DNA and dental records are on file, and officials say her information has been checked in numerous databases, including missing persons. Investigators out of Northern California uploaded Joseph D'Angelo's genetic profile to a website called GED Match. That information led them to the alleged killer's relative and eventually helped identify D'Angelo as their suspect. Forensic DNA expert Alan Friedman says it's possible for Fond du Lac investigators to upload Jane Doe's DNA to a genealogy site to figure out her identity, but that all depends on the condition of her DNA.
You can think of DNA as being long strands of pearls or beads on a string, and as DNA is exposed to bacterial decomposition, just like the rest of the body decomposes, the DNA actually gets broken into smaller and smaller DNA fragments over time, and it becomes difficult to analyze that DNA.
It's also important to note the techniques used by California investigators have been scrutinized and raise legal and ethical concerns. Legal issues aside, Friedman says a genealogy company would need to use its own technology to compare Jane Doe's DNA to the company's database and link her to possible relatives.
Because the information that is collected, for instance, by a government crime lab, the locations of the DNA won't necessarily be the same as that which is examined by a private company.
Now, Fond du Lac County investigators sent Jane Doe's remains to a lab last week. They're hoping the test will reveal where she grew up, and officials say those results could take up to 4 months.